Hi there. I'm Smita Murthy, managing partner at Opencliff Partners. We're a product advisory and consulting firm. This podcast series is a new podcast series that focuses on women in technology, product, and leadership. As a woman who's spent over 25 years in tech, product, and leadership in corporate roles, I have crossed paths with inspiring women who walk the talk, have an abundance mindset, and have helped shape my career journey. My hope is through my actions while in corporate roles and now in this chapter of my professional life that I give back and pay it forward. There's plenty of research that shows that women don't have enough women role models to look up to learn from, and to emulate. And very few women actually break the glass ceiling, be it in corporate, entrepreneurial, or other arenas, actually support other women in terms of being a champion, a sponsor, or advocate to other women. And worse, see them as competition. The inspiration for this podcast series is to showcase women who actually support other women in many ways and how they do it. I interview women in tech, product, and leadership who inspire, who actually help, and are positive influences to those who have the good fortune to be in their orbits, lifting as they climb. Today, super excited, beyond excited to host Dr. Michelle Flemmings. Our guest today brings over 30 years of healthcare expertise as an emergency medicine physician and former chief medical information officer who now serves as a healthcare executive with Oracle and Cerner. She specializes in digital health transformations while improving outcomes for organizations, caregivers, and most importantly, patients. Beyond her professional work, she leads Working While Female on LinkedIn. And if you haven't subscribed, you should subscribe. She inspires me every time she posts and enjoys life as a certified master gardener, that I didn't know, Michelle, and rescue dog mom. I am so excited to host you. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Smitha. It's funny when you talk about it, I got between happy and upset in the minute in like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Because when you started speaking about the actual fact, and it's happened to me more than once, women who make it or are getting closer to whatever making it is, who don't bother say, I know how it was. Let me give you a couple of hints and tips. That's a real thing. And so in that intro, I apologize if my face went weird because all of a sudden I was just angry at all of them who had put their foot on my forehead and said, not you.
Yep.
So
No,
I am excited to be here. Thank you for this. This is huge.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, we obviously have worked while we were at Oracle, well, while I was at Oracle. And, I'm very fortunate that we've continued to stay in touch. And we're gonna do great things to help other women. My hope is the audience who listens to this podcast will take away lessons we have learned that we will share with you, and hopefully inspire you as you progress along your career journey. So
So good.
with that, I would like to dive into a few questions and get your perspective, Michelle. So let me start off by asking, we all have people we look up to who inspire us, who shape our journeys.
Mhm.
Tell me about a role model that has inspired you in your career journey and why.
I will tell you the list is short, although in actuality it's very long. The very long list starts back with people like Bernadine Healy, who used to be the physician director at the American Red Cross. At the time, she was leading the medical school out of Ohio State when I was an attending in the emergency department. Prior to that, in my internship, and my internship in internal medicine was Marianne Legato, who actually mentored me without me realizing what it was. I was too young to understand and really take full benefit of it. So, Marianne, if you are listening, I am eternally grateful. She is one of the first women who recognized the very difference between heart disease in men and women. So, a lot of what we're seeing now that has now become red dress in February, it is founded on her expertise as a cardiologist in New York City back in those days, a magnificent woman. From the very beginning, though, and she's no longer with us, is my mom. My mom and my grandma. My grandma was the eldest of 7. Found out the other day that she was orphaned, and she raised the other 7. And all
Wow.
of a sudden, all of the stories and all of the trainings and all of the "don't forget this when I'm gone, baby" came to make sense, because she was trying to feed me with insights that I otherwise may not have reached. I remember
Yeah.
when I told her I was going to be a doctor, she was a diabetic, and I had to learn how to give her shots. They made us practice in oranges, of all things, which we all know doesn't really feel the same as human skin. But I remember saying to her, I'm going to figure out what the cause of this is, and you're going to live forever. And she looked at me and she said, "Baby, I wish it were true. By the time you get there, I'll be gone." And like 2 months later, boom, she was went.
Oh, yeah.
But it stuck with me.
Yeah, of course.
And my mom had always been the person who said, life's going to be hard. They're going to look at you a little bit differently because of who you are. And she shared some stories immigrating from Jamaica, how she couldn't believe in these United States that she was the other.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Come one, come all, let's all participate. I'm working, I'm teaching students, I'm paying taxes, I'm being a good mom, I'm raising good citizens, and yet I'm the other. From I was young, she made certain that I understood that, yes, this was my reality, but it wasn't something that had to anchor me. And I remember her being one of my biggest cheerleaders and one of my biggest proponents. She was also a good strategist, too. A lot of the stuff that I talk about with working in relationships and navigating toxic workplaces came from mom. She used to teach in the South Bronx, in
Oh,
junior high school in
okay.
the South Bronx. Mom was tough and mom was wise. But it
That's
was her and her leadership and teaching me about emotional intelligence before it was a word, talking about your strengths and trying to make your weaknesses into opportunities. She's the one that put a lot of that foundation. And then the world and my experiences helped me to hone and start messaging and helping others. But that was a hard question, Smitha. I'm sorry. This is going to be rough.
no, we're gonna have no these are stories that need to be told. I
I
find that
agree.
there are too many, like, I could have easily made the theme of this podcast Dr. Michelle Flemmings, tell me about your career journey, because as you know, I'm in awe of the fact that you're a medical doctor. But
Thank you.
that's that said, these are important stories. And I am actually very happy to hear you had two mentors who were women at work
Hmm.
in your prior to corporate chapter. But
Totally.
that is amazing because in since I've never had that sort of a chapter, I've always been in corporate, and now this is chapter 2 for me. In corporate, those are few and far in between,
Hmm.
and that was really the reason I wanted to bring this podcast to life and really highlight all those women. Many of them, I actually, I know the person. She doesn't want to be on social media in any way, but she literally took me under her wing in one
Wow.
of my first executive positions. And she was
Beautiful.
supposed to be my peer mentor. And she was so much more than that. She
Hmm.
told me how to navigate the office politics, where the landmines were, who to spend a little extra time with so that they
Hmm.
get to know me. So my ideas don't fall flat on their face. They're
Totally.
actually given some space. So anyway,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Well,
those are,
you make
I
a
mean,
great point there, because there are some that are in corporate. There's Lou D'Souza, and Lou and I met when I was a customer of Cerner. I was the CMIO at a little hospital, and we met. And it was interesting because they were doing a CMIO forum, kind of preparing us for what it was to step into that leadership role and to lead an implementation of an EHR, which, for anyone listening who's ever done it, knows it's not easy. There's a lot of management of relationships, personalities, competing agendas, et cetera. And being able to navigate that path is huge. She had put on a CMIO summit and invited a bunch of us there, some of the docs I'm still very good friends with. And she was one of the first ones who really started talking about emotional intelligence and being a female in healthcare, health tech, leadership. She was one of the very first. And then there's also Naseem Afsar, who I reported to. At one point, she was the chief health officer for Oracle, actually for Cerner first, and then Oracle Health. And between she and Lou is how I ended up being the chief medical officer under them for Community Works, which is still a thriving portion of the Oracle Health solution set. And to say that they helped to hone my skills doesn't begin to describe the story and honestly the insights and the guidance that they poured into me. And for that, again, eternally grateful.
Amazing, amazing. And I'm so happy to know one of those women. So maybe I should bring her on as one of the guests on this podcast series. Okay.
100%.
So, what are some of the myths that you would like to dispel about being a woman in health tech leadership?
Well, I'll tell you something that comes into my DMs a lot. And even before working while female became a thing, it was something that came in through my Slack or in my inbox or on a text. And a young female in the organization saying, I am the only one in the room. I'm up in the corner, I'm at the back, or I'm outside and I'm afraid to go in. That being the only, whether it's female, whether it is woman of color, whether it is someone who speaks with an accent, that feeling of being only, but then also that concern, that edge, that friction of being seen or you perceiving that you're being perceived as othered. And we both know how that happens. You
Mhm.
know, your name is too difficult to pronounce. I'm going to give you a nickname as one of them that came into my coffee chats the other day. And I told the person, I said, I need a moment because I'm sitting here very angry on your behalf. I said, what did you do? What did you say? And she said, I was so taken aback and in shock that I didn't know what to say. And I said, so if you run into this person, and I'm going to guess his name is Bill, Bob, or John, or Jack, and I still don't understand why Jack is a nickname for John. Both start with J, both got 4 letters. Hello. Why? Huh. But anyway, I digress. I told her, I said, the next time you run into him and say, you know, first time we met, I think we started off on a bad foot. You see my name, something that my parents gave me, my first gift right after the gift of life and taking my first breath, my identity. You totally took it away, threw it out the window, stomped on it, and nullified me. You know, you canceled me in person, in your sights, in the presence of others. And I get it. You are above me in the matrix, but I want you to know how that felt to me. I want you to know how it felt that you were just crossing me off like a line item and disregarding me. And
Yeah,
she's like, I can't say that. I said, sweetheart, trust Aunt Michelle. Sit down, take it in, and the next time you see them, let that initial awe and shock turn into, how dare you? And you'll come up with the right words. Some of the other young ladies will say it's because my name is too long or because I don't have enough vowels in my last name. So they call you something and then they leave an initial. Or in healthcare, you end up being Dr. Michelle as opposed to Dr. Flemmings, like the male surgeon, the male orthopedist, the male ophthalmologist is Dr. Jones, Dr. Smith, Dr. Ford. You don't get that respect. I'm kind of more than tired of us calling it an unlevel playing field. It's been that way since the very beginning. Since the very beginning. And the more that we sit on the fact that it's unlevel and we continue to talk about that, the less we stand back and we strategize and say, this is what I'm given. How can I take what I know is sitting in place as a foundation that's really flawed? And in spite of that, recreate my reality so that I don't have to get mired down in the crazy, like you were talking about the landmines, the dead ends, the holes in the floor, all of
yeah,
that. How can
yeah,
we stop talking about the problem and instead accept it as it is? It's like gravity, it just is. Let's go from there now and let's get together as a giant global partnership of women, a sisterhood, as we say, and help each other to get past that blockade and that challenge and that scarcity mindset to I am possible because we all are.
yeah,
We all
yep,
are. We just have to leap across that one roadblock.
yeah,
And I think that's what your podcast here is going to help to do. It's really going
yeah.
to be good for that.
Yeah, yeah, I think so too. And as I was telling the audience at the start of the thing, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to Leading While Female, Women in the Workplace, Michelle's writing on LinkedIn is beautiful. Please subscribe. Um,
Thank you.
so what are some, so moving on, these are all great lessons. I hope the audience appreciates the golden nuggets they're getting over here. What are some leadership lessons you've learned from your experience as a woman in health tech leadership?
It's that self-doubt to action step. It's easy to sit in self-doubt and go, well, I don't know this. I'm not the greatest in that. So and so across the table is the expert. What does little old me have to say to contribute that's going to make a difference? And in silencing our own voices and in making ourselves just start out from a position of less than, we end up nuking our career and we end up limiting ourselves, not just ourselves in that moment, but imperceptible to us, definitely perceptible and palpable to those in the room, those across the table from you, maybe even those across the screen from you, because a lot of it now is remote.
Yeah.
They see that and they sense that doubt. And we must get past that. Another thing that I notice is I'll hear friends of mine and teammates presenting and they say something like, today is Thursday and I'm on Smith's podcast and I'm doing so and so and we're talking about leadership lessons, and ending up on that top note from where you started means that you're not quite sure what's going on. You may not feel it in the moment. You may not want to realize that you're projecting it, but that subtle thing, that subtle habit is right there making them say, is she ready for prime time? Does she not understand where she is or what's at stake, what the risks are? Should I bother listening to anything else she has to say? So we need
And
to be very careful of that as well.
absolutely. And those are extra scrutiny we go through whether we like it or not, because there are, I can count the number of men who do that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And
And then the
and,
other
and
one
it's
that's
not,
interesting. Oh, yeah. And if you end it just a different way and say, we are now today talking about leadership lessons. Am I correct? That's better. You know, that's
yeah,
much better
yep.
as opposed to the other. And you're absolutely right. Guys do it differently and they'll say, wow, he's introspective.
Isn't he?
Wow, he's asking and engaging the audience with a question, as opposed to us. Let's escort her to the door. She doesn't know what she's talking about. Double standard, which is another one that unfortunately we get stuck in thinking about and feeling like we're hamstrung by it, as opposed to, yeah, there's a double standard. I'm going to go rogue outside of this double standard and I'll show you what a double standard is. My double standard is you don't think I can. The other side of that sword is I know I can,
Yeah, yeah, no,
you know?
absolutely. Great lessons. But we've now come to the most important question. And that most important question is kind of the premise for this podcast, right? There's so
Hmm.
many successful women in the workplace. And I think I told you this when we spoke earlier. I think about, as friends, as sisters, as mothers, as, all the different roles we play. We're
Hmm.
always nurturing and we want to help others and we want to care for others and help them in their journey. As I was joking, by doing millions of loads of laundry for my two sons, high school
Yes.
and now college. And it comes naturally to us. But when
Hmm.
we go to the workplace, what changes? Why are we not doing the same thing to other women? Knowing how hard it's been for us to get to where we are. So I'm hopeful that through this platform, we highlight how have you used your success to help other women in their careers.
Oh, yes. And that's something I think that was ingrained in me from how I was raised. My folks were Jamaican immigrants. My dad was Costa Rican. So bringing the next along is always something that I was supposed to do. I'm the middle girl. So there's a little bit of tomboy and there's also you got to watch out for your baby cousins. You got to watch out for your baby sister, kids in the neighborhood. So it's something that I was almost born with. What I will say is I've done mentoring, especially when at Oracle, they had the Oracle Women Leaderships Group. And I presented on several of those, and it was fascinating to me that in an organization that big, that little effort resulted in so many Slack messages, so many calls, so many texts from women, some of them halfway around the globe, asking for advice and asking for more and how they could stay connected and could they DM me or text me if they had an issue. Of course, you say yes to as many as possible, but you realize that you are your own rate limiting step. You can't clone yourself. The other thing that I do is I did a lot of posting even before the Working Well Female came out in the newsletter and all of that. I did a lot of posting about a lot of the straight issues about the workplace and how women are perceived differently and how because of that perception, because we're not going to be able to change a lot of those stereotypes, not at least I think in my lifetime. I'm hoping that the next generations will absolutely turn that on its end. But the legend of the old boys club, the unlevel playing field, the double-edged sword, the double bind, the standards, all of those are all things that what I work to do with folks when I'm speaking with them is those are all set aside over here. Those are things that I can't change. If you're doing a SWOT analysis, which I dare say a lot of your audience will understand the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. That's one of those external threats that you have almost no control over any of them.
Yep.
If you can take those and compartmentalize those to the side, put them in a pretty little box, and then throw it out to the curb, and then take the others, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the strengths, and stand back and say, okay, this is what I have, and these are the chess pieces I can utilize. Take your opportunities, work them into strengths. Is there an opportunity to stand up and be bold? Because that next project is in your wheelhouse. You know you have the expertise. And the person who is probably half your age with less experience in their entire body than you have in your little pinky, you need to be in charge. You need to stand up and say, you know, boss, not for nothing, but this is mine. This is my expertise. These are my credentials. This is how I've affected ROI previously, and I should be in that position. If they turn you down, you have a choice. Stick with it, do it again the next time, or number two, see if you can find another boss, or if you can find a mentor or a sponsor who's going to help you to get into that position and realize your credibility, your validity, and your value. Is there something that I can do regarding culture? Sometimes I have, and it's been very cool. And it actually surprises other women, especially virtually in meetings when they're being shouted down virtually, because you can't get the real cues from the screen that you can in person. But
Yep.
if someone is interrupting them serially and won't let them get the point out, taking what kind of credibility and influence I have and saying, it's usually a Bob, Bill, or John, sorry, but dude, can you let her get the point out? Because this is critically important. If I think she's going where she's going, we all need to hear this. Giving them back the stage, giving them back the floor, and helping them own it. And then if they don't close with, are there any questions? You can help them with that and say, Smitha, thank you so much. I think that was brilliant. I am so psyched you brought that up. I actually have a question. I don't know if any of you others do, but come out with a question that you know they're going to know the answer to that further spotlights their genius and gives them back their confidence and lets them relax, get comfortable in themselves. That's
Amazing.
huge.
Yeah,
Those are some of
absolutely.
the things that I've done and some of the things that I urge other women who have even a little bit of a title, or even better yet, if they are renegades and they are going out there and being radical leaders and leading without the title, so much the better. It
Yeah.
validates you and your security and your confidence and your self-assuredness, not in a boastful way, but just saying, guys, you can't run me over. I'm here. And then it's
Mhm.
also helping that next person to get into their spot, to get into the spotlight and be comfortable. And then if they wish, step out, but know how to act when they get back in and command respect without having to raise their voice or, God forbid, ending up crying in the bathroom,
Yeah.
you
Oh,
know?
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course. Actually, that brings up it brings up an important question, which is you talked about how when you were at Oracle Women's Leadership and you did all those
Mhm,
talks, you got all those countless Slack messages and DMs, um, which is fantastic. That was the point of you doing those talks. But
mhm.
at the same time, you're a human being with finite number of hours, and you have a full-time job to do. So how do you help others while maintaining boundaries? And those boundaries could
Oh.
be time, it could be
Mhm,
people asking you for free advice beyond that first, whatever, introductory conversation. How do you maintain those
mhm.
boundaries?
I think you know my life. I think you were there this morning with me, honestly. I had exactly those two things happen. First, what I recommend is be ruthless, be candid, be honest with yourself with your calendar, and understand there's work to do, and then there's what I want to do and what I
Yeah,
love to do. There's family, there's you by yourself with no family. Guard that time as the precious resource that it is, because to my knowledge, we've never figured out how to make more of it. We've been able to figure out how to make the most of it. And a lot
yeah,
of us ignore a lot of those ideas and those guidelines. But be ruthless with your calendar and block the time. Be honest with yourself. I mean, I'm going to be over in California at a wedding starting next week. When I come back on Sunday, do I really want to start in with phone calls with people on Monday morning? My thoughts probably not. I blocked the Monday. I just know I'm
perfect.
not going to show up as my best me. They
Yeah,
can wait until the afternoon. Simple things like that. The other one, though, is with the discovery calls, and I love to do my coffee chats. I decided instead of having so many slots open in a day, just have one or two that I can accommodate one, max two people. More than that, and I don't think that I'm at my best to be at my best for them and to give what they're coming to those chats for. They're 30 minutes. But if you consider having another hour and change because you need a buffer in between to cycle back and do the feedback and the
yeah,
follow up things that you promised, it ends up being a rather long day. And you need to be, again, really candid with yourself and measure and say, okay, how much will I have left in the tank? And will I have gotten to dinner before it got cold? Will I have my date night? Have I petted my dog? Have I been outside and felt the sunshine on my face? All of those things matter, and all of those things recharge and build us back up. So I think it's
yeah.
sitting
Great
down with
tip.
your Google Calendar, your iCal, whatever it is, and doing it and make certain that it coordinates across so that you're not double timing yourself and you're not then booking yourself straight through a day. That's awful.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think that the thing of merging the calendars is the best thing that I've
Hmm.
discovered, because
Oh
it
yeah.
brings my personal calendar with my work calendar, and I
Hmm.
know, oh, I really don't have any gap over here.
No,
Um,
no.
so
And a
that's
lot of
that's
us don't do it at work. And I told it to someone one day. They said, "You're so hard to book." And I said, "Because I prefer to do my work at work." So
yeah,
what I was doing is I was blocking areas so I could definitely get my work done at work. And it
right,
it made a
right.
world of
Great idea.
difference.
Absolutely, absolutely. Great tips. Thank you for that.
Oh, no
O-
worries.
Okay, so what advice would you give other women to help them in their journeys besides all that beautiful advice you've already given? What else would you help other women with in terms of their
Mhm.
journey?
Take time to be with yourself and take time to do things for yourself. Because without those two, you can't guarantee that you still have any gas in the tank, that your batteries ever recharge. You'll be continually exhausted to the point that, I mean, that's burnout. Burnout is the point of exhaustion and just mental, physical tiredness that you don't want to go forward, or you're going forward imperfectly and not in that beautiful meme fashioned kind of a way. You're going through imperfectly. You're showing up as not the best version of you. Sometimes it's a not nice version of you. You might be missing things. So they always say that self care isn't selfish. How I decided to say it instead is caring for me means that I'm there to care and have time for others. So starting with me first in that potentially selfish move, but I look at it as being grateful to the world and gracious to the world that if I can take care of me, I can then be a good gift and a good ombudsman and a good mentor to the rest of you guys. Take that time. It's huge. And something else that I decided to do is when I'm blocking my calendar, I take a 15 to 20-minute break in the morning. I take another one in the afternoon, and then after that last break is when I give maybe another half hour to work, and then that last half hour to 45 minutes plan the next day. Because that way I end up at my desk the next morning going, okay, these are the three top priorities. This is what I'm going to do, etc. And I know I've given myself the time, you know?
Fantastic. I
Yeah.
always about self-care, I always think about the airline, the safety where they say,
Yeah.
first put on your own oxygen mask before you even help the little one sitting next to you, right?
Hmm.
And I always like, oh, but like if you're not breathing, you're not going to help anyone. So,
Exactly.
so yeah,
Exactly. Put
that,
on your own mask first. That sounds like a
yes,
post.
I know exactly. Thank you. All right, so some fun things to wrap things up. Please
Mhm.
give me your favorite life lesson quote and why that's relevant to you.
Oh, wow. I'm going to fall back on Mel Robbins. Mel Robbins has a quote that says, ooh, or do I want Maya Angelou? I'll start with Mel. Mel has a quote that says something like, you are always one decision away from the life you want to lead. So I sit there and I think about that as, yeah, I'm sitting in this decision forever. I can't keep cycling because every time I cycle and loop back, I'm delaying the outcome, my good outcome, or potentially getting it wrong and getting it over with and then deciding better the next time. So I love that quote for that reason. The other one that I love too is Maya Angelou's quote about they may never remember what you said. They may never remember the circumstance where they met you, but they will always, always remember how you made them feel.
Yep.
And I take it as a privilege that people remember me, especially some of the folks that I speak with. They look and they may not remember my name, but they'll
Hmm.
say, you were the one who did so and so, or you were the one who came across as this, that, or the other. My favorite is when they call me a firecracker. You know, it's like,
Love
ooh,
it.
so I blew it up in the presentation room. They're like, I just couldn't stop listening to you. And that means that all the work, all the intention that I put into whatever I was saying, whatever I was presenting mattered. And that little piece of validation is enormous, especially in the industry that we're in, where inattention is the norm. I mean, if
Yeah.
you get 90 seconds of attention, you're lucky. You're
That's right.
lucky.
That's right. Oh, I love it. Love it. Both of those I love. By the way, as I was thinking about this podcast this morning, I do a lot of shower thinking. For those
Same
who know,
here.
yeah, that's like my me time. No one's bothering me. So one of the I was thinking about the women who have inspired me. I mean, obviously
Mhm.
we all have. My grandmother too, and my mother too have inspired me. But like I was thinking in the corporate sense. And in
Mhm.
the corporate sense, I attended one of those Grace Hopper conferences for
Mm.
women in computing, right? And there was a speaker, and she's now the CEO of Zooks. Like
Wow,
her name is Aisha Evans, and if she listens to this, maybe I'll tag her when we post this. Um,
totally.
she said something, and I think I'm translating this a little bit to this context. She said, there are so many women in Africa giving birth to children by the roadside and under trees.
Mhm.
The fact that you have access to hospitals to give birth to children, you are in a place of privilege. Use it,
Mhm.
right? And I
Mhm.
think and I forget the rest of the context, but that stuck with me. I
Mhm.
probably have it in. I'm like a phone note taker, so I probably have it somewhere. Um, but for me, I think that's the point of this podcast. You and I are in a place of privilege. Whatever
Indeed.
the circumstances, however hard it was, we are where we're at. And like Picasso said, your mission in life, I'm paraphrasing, mission in life is to find your gift. And then your
Mhm.
purpose in life is to give it away. Right.
Absolutely.
And
Yes,
and
ma'am.
I think that is, well, look at us. We pulled out three different quotes for this one. so, so
Sweet.
that's amazing. Okay, just to wrap it up, any book recommendations you have to be an authentic
Always.
leader? Yes, please tell us.
Always. I loved, loved, loved Brene Brown's um, Dare to Lead. I finished it and I wasn't even on a cross country flight. I just kept going. It was brilliant. The other one that I love that I've actually reread is Machiavelli for Women. And for the life of
Ooh,
me, I cannot remember the woman's name who is the author. Please forgive me. It is an amazing book. And it takes Machiavelli and it sits over and says, okay, we're women. Yes, we can't necessarily go in and, cut the heads off with swords, but We can metaphorically make certain they know that we're no stinking bargain. The other one that I love is the confidence code. The
Mm,
confidence code stands back in putting experience, expertise, and data together along with studies about human nature and some from mammals and bringing it up to human nature and says, these are the things that we notice that are common to people who exhibit confidence. These are some of the lessons that you can learn. And that's an amazing book as well. And if I were going to start any order, I'd probably do Dare to Lead first, Machiavelli for Women next, and then go to the confidence code.
amazing. Amazing. Always such a pleasure to speak with you, Michelle. I am truly grateful and thankful to have you in my orbit. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing all those life lessons that you have accumulated over time, that some got passed on from grandma. And
Yes.
right? So we have
Oh, yeah.
generational knowledge here that, she has willingly shared with our audience. Thank you to the audience for listening in when you listen to this recording. And I hope you got that masterclass in how to be an authentic leader as a woman in leadership, in health tech. Thanks again, Michelle, for being on the show.
Thank you so much, Smitha. And for those who are looking to connect with me, I'm on LinkedIn.
Perfect. Sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you.